Hello and welcome to the Rant Presents Versus. I am Josh, and I am here to put two games against each other in a epic battle royale. So welcome. So today, for Versus, I've got two story-driven games. One of them is an episodic adventure, and the other one's a little bit short, but a really great game. So let's get right to it with The Wolf Among Us, a Telltale game, versus Firewatch. So let's just jump right in with category number one. And category number one is story. Probably the most essential thing to both these games is the story. Because no, there's not a lot of gameplay. It's kind of point and clicky for both of them. But the story is where these two games really shine. And let's start with The Wolf Among Us. The Wolf Among Us is an episodic game that has twists and turns all the way through it. There's kind of an underlying detective work story going on. It's based off the characters from the DC and Vertigo comic book called Fables. You play as the Big Bad Wolf. And actually, I should probably say all the fairy tale creatures are trying to adjust to normal life in human society because their fairy world, I guess you could say, was attacked and destroyed. So they're all trying to blend in with society, whether that be through potions or because they look normal enough they can do it. But they live for centuries, unlike the Fall Out Boy song. So anyways, the story goes, you start off and you are Bigby, the Big Bad Wolf. And you meet a slew of colorful characters, but in the beginning, Mr. Toad is like, hey, there's some asshole making a racket upstairs. You go in there, you beat up the lumberjack from the Big Bad Wolf story, and you both go your own way. I get all right. Let me restart this a little bit. I'm just gonna say the underlying story for this game is a detective story. There's something going on in the Fables village, or not village, but town. The mayor left, and another guy took over, and he's corrupt as shit. And you need to solve the murder of several Fables. Very tricky murders. Their heads cut off. And there's a bunch of different kind of plot points going on through it. And it's very good, very interesting, and it's very fun to play through and kind of go through the story. For Firewatch, the story is a little bit more basic, but it does branch off a little bit. It starts off with a few text choices you can make, which don't really affect the game too much, but they are enough to, kind of intrigue you and make you want to play through the game again to kind of see what will happen if you pick other choices. And you start off, you are what the game is called, Fire Watcher. You watch out for fires in the middle of, I believe it's Colorado, in a forest in Colorado. First off, there's your wife who gets Alzheimer's at a very young age of I guess at 40, which is kind of young for that. And so, you kind of take care of her as long as you can, but she's too far gone. So you take this job for 80 days being a fire watcher. And the first day you meet the only other person you really make contact with on a more than just a shadow in the background yelling at you. And her name is Delilah, and you kind of get this instant connection with her. She's a very funny and engaging character, but you don't see her. She's just on the radio talking to you, and she kind of watches you from her main headquarters, you could say. So through the game, actually on the first day, you find a group of two teenage girls who are making a mess in the woods, and you kind of snuff out their fire and throw their radio into the water. And then while you're going back to camp, or to your watchtower, a figure appears and kind of runs away, and you get to your tower and it's trashed. And then you find out later that the girls' tent and stuff was trashed, and they left, and then they weren't found again. And there's also someone watching and reading, and listening to your conversations over the radio with Delilah, and it kind of all starts spiraling out of control, and it gets really interesting, and you kind of get nervous at times going through this thing. So it's a very intriguing story and very nice story. But I do prefer the story in The Wolf Among Us because there's more plot points, there's more division of story, and I feel like if they had spent a little bit more time making the story and the game go on a little bit longer for Firewatch, I would have enjoyed that a little bit more. But that's why Wolf Among Us gets the point for story. Excuse me. Category number 2 is graphics. And I normally don't like talking about this one, but these two games have very nice graphics. The Wolf Among Us has these like actually kind of comic booky looking graphics. They're kind of cel shaded. It looks like they're hand drawn, and it looks really cool, and it really matches up with the style of the game being a comic book type game. And each character defining features on them are labeled very well. And when some characters transform, like the Jersey Devil, looks really really cool, and it just it kind of makes you like go take a step back and you're like, whoa, hold on there, buddy. So the graphics do look great in this game for what it is based about. As for Firewatch, the graphics are interesting. There's like a painted background at all times, and everything kind of looks cartoony. It's kind of blocky as well, but it looks good. I think the game looks good. It looks like it's a great looking game. So I'm kind of torn on the graphics because the graphics in Firewatch I love, and the Wolf Among Us I love too, which is why I give both of them a point in the graphics department. Next up is category number 3, which is gameplay. Did the games work? The Wolf Among Us has a very straight line for gameplay. You go around searching for clues. You have different areas you go to, and it's kind of a straightforward kind of path you walk. And you can pick up items and stuff like that, find certain items. There's a kind of a challenging platinum trophy because you have to find all the hidden logs for your directory of fables or whatever it's called. Which requires you to kind of go through the game multiple times to kind of find them all. And the gameplay is one-dimensional. It's not riveting. It's just like a Telltale game. You point, you click, you walk forward, you press X, stuff like that. And there's button mashing, of course. In Firewatch, the gameplay is a little bit more fluid. It's a first-person game, of course, so you have a little bit more freedom. The map might be small, but it is open world. You can explore wherever you want, although the story does take you to each location. So it's not like, if you don't explore one area, you're never going to go there. The story takes you to each location. But there are multiple things you can kind of find throughout the game. There's collectibles. Even though there's no trophy for collecting them all, it's cool to kind of read them and kind of catch up with some of the other people who've done the job before, and also this mystery guy who's kind of stalking around. You find more equipment as you go through the game. So you find an axe, you find a flashlight, you have your compass and map on you. It's very interesting to kind of plot your course, follow your compass, and kind of do normal things you would do while hiking. And because Firewatch has a lot less, I should say, limitations, that is why I give Firewatch a point in the gameplay division or category. Okay. Next up is category number 4. I'm kind of backtracking, I know, but category number 4 is characters. As I already mentioned, the Wolf Among Us, you play as Bigby Wolf, who is the big bad wolf, and you kind of go up against the what was he called? I'll just say the lumberjack. But there's plenty of colorful characters, all perfectly represented in this game as they were in the comic books. And there's, of course, new ones as well. Characters included like Mr. Toad, who is a giant asshole, but he's just kind of caring for his son. So, you can't blame the guy. There's Otis, who is a talking pig, who you can either choose to send back to the farm, or you can say, okay, you're my friend, and you don't send him back. There's your love interest in it, which is Sleeping Beauty. There's plenty of different characters who kind of come out of the woodworks, even some that I didn't know, like the Crooked Man. Of course, there's Bloody Mary, which everyone knows. You got demons and spawns and Oh, a bunch of things. So all the characters in the game are very colorful. They're different. Each character has kind of a different vibe to them. And like I said before, each one has a defining characteristic to them. As for the characters in Firewatch, there are two major characters in the game. One is you, yourself, and you can kind of choose how you want to act by responding over the radio. Then there's the faceless person, Delilah, who is, your mentor, your manager. And she has a very compelling backstory as well. You kind of get to know her a lot over the days that you actually play in the game. Then there are some sub-characters like Julia, your wife, and the person who's stalking you, and another person who did the job before you and his son come up a lot. And then there's also your dog. You can choose to have which dog you want. You can have a beagle or a German Shepherd. So there's a few characters in the game, and even though there's a few characters, they're very fleshed out. They're very lifelike. They're very human in their nature. But because Wolf Among Us has so many varying characters who aren't the same, I have to give the point to the Wolf Among Us. Category number 5 is your world that you live in. And I know I've kind of gone over this a little bit, but in the Wolf Among Us, you are in Fabletown, and there's plenty of different areas to explore throughout the game. Even though you can't choose, in an open world setting, it's very interesting to kind of go around and see how the other Fables are doing with their time and what they're doing. And the interesting thing is, it looks like a normal, city, because it's Fabletown. It's supposed to look like a normal city. So if someone comes through who's not a Fable, they can't go, "Whoa, why is there a big giant castle here?" Right? So it's interesting, and every area you go to does have its own vibe to it, just like the characters. In Firewatch, the world is very beautiful. I know I kind of mentioned this in the graphics department, but the painted background looks great. The sunrises and sunsets you see through the game are amazing. The map changes a lot while you hike around. There's more of a desert place in it. There's a forest. There's rivers. There's a lake. There's also animals you can find around as well. It's a very nice looking game. And I think I'm a little bit more impressed with Firewatch's open world style map than I am with the hoity-toity town that you're in most of the Wolf Among Us. So as for the world, I have to give it to Firewatch. Next up is category number 6, and category number 6 is choice. And yes, I know I've gone over this before a little bit, but I need to reiterate, the choice in the Wolf Among Us, there's a lot of choices. Does it all lead to the same thing? No. This is one of the only Telltale games where you actually have a choice at the end. You actually have a reason to be nice or mean to people. You actually have a reason to get the correct information. You actually have a reason to do everything right. And yes, I know there's 1.5 levels that don't really matter in the game. But going through the game and being the type of wolf you think you should be really affects the game as a whole. And it's interesting to kind of go through it multiple times and see where your choices can lead you. I'm going to give a little spoiler, but at the end of the game, there are 3 different things you can do. You can choose to just kill the guy. You can choose to behead him and then throw him down the witching well. Or you can let the people decide what they want to do and put him on trial and put him in jail. Or if you are mean to people, they'll all be siding with him, as there's this public thing. Or you can choose to kill him before they even meet him. You can just choose to off him, and they'll be like, "Well, fuck you, man." So there's a lot of choice in The Wolf Among Us. And as for Firewatch, there's a good amount of choice, but nothing that's too changing to the story. You can make minor changes, like how Delilah draws you. You can draw yourself with lazy eyes, or with happy eyes, or with sad eyes. You can, say if you have a beard or not. You can, etc., etc. And it will change the different things. Sure, they're minor, but it'll change different things. It'll also open up new dialogue options. So if you choose the Beagle over the German Shepherd, there's a different story you can tell Delilah. Or if you choose to put Julia into a nursing home or try and nurse her yourself, there's different dialogue. It's all just the dialogue stuff. There's not much major that can change. And you do have choices to the game. You can choose not to throw the girl's boombox into the river. They will still go up and destroy your watchtower no matter what. Or there's a part in the game where you can decide whether to burn a camp to the ground. You can decide to do it or not. It will still burn down, unfortunately. So the choice in this game, even though it's still there, it doesn't really matter, which is unfortunate. But that's why The Wolf Among Us gets a point in the category number 6 choice. So at the end of the day, The Wolf Among Us has 1, 2, 3, 4 points, and Firewatch has 1, 2, 3. And the category number 7 is overall satisfaction. And really, I am completely satisfied with both these games. Even though Firewatch is a little short, I do have a review on my main channel, which I'll go over in a second, where you can find that. But, you know, Firewatch is a little short, and yes, it does have a few minor glitches in the game, but it was still a great game and a great experience. And The Wolf Among Us, it shows that Telltale can make a good game. The Walking Dead Season 1 is phenomenal. It's great. And The Wolf Among Us is right up there with it. I think it's better than that game because you have more choice. There's more things you can do. There's more colorful characters to find. And it's loosely based on a comic book series that I really enjoy. And that's why I really love The Wolf Among Us. And then after The Wolf Among Us, they got too big. They got too big for their shoulders, and now they're going way downhill. So, all in all, I am completely satisfied with both these games, but I am more satisfied with The Wolf Among Us in this reason, that it follows so closely to the characters in the comic books, and the world feels so vibrant with these different characters. And the story is very engaging, and it's a very true detective story. It doesn't have those bullshit moments where it'll introduce a new character at the last minute, like a lot of stories do, that will just change everything. You know, it's like in, I was reading a Batman comic book, and at the end of the comic book, Batman's sitting there waiting to be killed by, you know, whoever, and random-ass Joe, who you saw one time throughout the series, comes in and saves him. And it's like, that's, you know, I've enjoyed the writing up to this point, but you can't do that because it's kind of bullshitty. So, thank you for listening. This is the Rant channel. If you want to, you can hit that subscribe button down there. We have plenty of things on this channel, including a 5-minute review segment by the other person I do this channel with, Robert. He has a lot of information, puts it into a short amount of time. Very interesting. We also have a main Rant podcast where we talk about comic books and video games. And we actually went over the DC's Rebirth, their announcement last week, so you can check that out if you want. Then of course we have this right here, which is the Versus series that I do. I pit 2 games against each other. Sometimes they don't match, sometimes they do. We have a few random videos on the channel, including video game moments, and then we also have our weekly broadcast where we play a PlayStation 4 game, or Robert will sometimes solo play a PlayStation 4 game, and that'll be, you know, it. As for me, my main channel is Josh's Opinion. I have video game reviews on there, including Firewatch. I also have YouTube haikus, which is what my channel is kind of quote-unquote famous for. And I've been trying to kind of go away from them and do more meaningful content, which I have been doing weekly. I also have Left 4 Dead videos on there with my friends and I. We just kind of have a ball with the mods on Left 4 Dead. I also have something new on my channel called YouTube Commentary, where I take a video and I give my thoughts on it, and I kind of do some funny things in there. I think they're funny, me, myself. And I have a bunch of other stuff on my channel. You can go check it out if you want to. Link is probably going to be in the description below. Thank you, Robert. And as always, if you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like it, you can leave a dislike. Subscribe to the channel if you want to. Doesn't matter. But if you did dislike this video, please leave a dislike. You can leave a comment if you do too. And if you don't like the video, leave a dislike. And I will compare you to Blackbeard's severed head.